everybody. My name is Sandy Simmons. I'm a practitioner in Melbourne, Australia. I've been in practice for over some 30 years as a naturopath, nutritionist, fertility and lactation consultant, and on the other side of things I'm a colour, sound healer, having my own in-spirit energy connection system, and basically I have a bag of tools I bring out when anybody comes to see me. Firstly, I'd just like to thank WEF and also our fabulous Shah Moore in Melbourne for shining a light to guide me here today, and for Dr. Habeen for putting on this fabulous conference, which I didn't know went for this long, 25 years this year. I must have had my head buried in a bucket of sand, or in clinic, so to speak. So today we're talking about taking control of your health and natural lifestyles and what role they have to play in helping us. So I wanted to talk about taking control of our health first, because I feel that that's a really important thing that many people are not practicing today. So I believe that all human beings have the right to know about their own health, to have the self-responsibility and be empowered enough to ask questions and find out and know themselves in here, in their heart, what will work for them. So if we're not putting this into practice, which I'm finding in Australia quite a lot, I can't speak for India, but I have 3 lovely ladies following me who I'm sure I'll find a lot. You can't do it? I bet it's not on. It's on? Okay. So I have 3 lovely ladies following me who I will learn a lot about India and the natural therapies and things that go on here. So if we're in Australia, I think most people, or a lot of people, are finding themselves quite disempowered with their health. They feel that they often don't have a choice, and that others, and that could be doctors, but it could also be other practitioners, know more about their own body than they do. Now, how did we get into this situation? I just believe, it really doesn't make sense, does it? It really is because the world has moved very fast. We have a number of different, as we heard this morning, there's 28 families own 50% of the world. So we have a lot of media, we have a lot of what I call misinformation happening around the world about our own health, really trying to disempower us. So what can we do, and what is it that as adults now, where probably we have lost our innocence and our connection to ourselves, what can we do to bring a new paradigm forward? And one of the things that I try to teach a lot of my clients is to go back to your grassroots. Find out what it was that worked for you and your family. Now, it could be simple as perhaps Shah, who has a mixed background, but she lives in Australia. It could be somebody who, from China, who came to live in Australia. The main part of their dietary requirements would have been rice. So when they come to the West and they have pasture and they have bread, it doesn't suit them. They feel quite ill. People don't often correlate those things. They're just trying to fit in to the new place that they've decided to live in, but it's not working for them. So is it the pharmaceutical industries with all the media and all the hype going on behind everything that has caused a veil to move down over our face? Could it just be the fact that we have gone so fast in the world that we don't want to see what's going on with ourselves? We want a quick fix. We want something that's going to bring about something we can continue on with our fast lives with. That creates a laziness in one way in our own inner self. We don't look at ourselves, we don't take notice of the signposts that are happening. We don't look at what we can do to move on, to be the creative beings that we need to be, the expansion that we need to have to live a full life, a life that we are entitled to live. So, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking a Western doctor, and I'm going to say all that because I've got lovely ladies following me from India. I'm not knocking the doctors, but they have also been misled. If we really stop and think about what's happening, there's a herd mentality happening. There's it's a gathering people to disempower them with their own health. Everybody else knows more about you than you do. So, do we want a disease-free life though? No, we don't, because we want those signposts. We want our body to tell us when something isn't working properly, so that we can actually move on and do something about it. So, we all know that a pill or something that we take can squash those feelings, squash the headache, so we can get on with what we want. If we keep doing that, it builds inside a bigger and bigger issue. And before we know it, we have a health issue that we just can't ignore, but it then becomes totally out of our control. So really want you to think today is one of my messages to say, decrease stress in your life. The stress is what's killing us. The stress of having to live a modern day life. Get back to simplicity. Because we know that high stress creates complications in our life, creates a terrible well-being, and often leads to an early death. Whereas if we just reduce stress, just a smidge, just think about what it is that we're doing, it increases our health and well-being, and we end up with better longevity. So it's not rocket science, is it? It's not something that you need a big health professional to tell you what you need to do. So, leading by example, as mothers or parents, there's some men in the audience here, I'm sure that, it doesn't matter, we don't have to have our own children, we could have nephews and nieces, but we need to be seen to be doing what we are telling people to do. So we need to lead by example, we need to empower the children, we need to educate them so that they can know what's going on within themselves. And then we need to create that, or what it does, it creates the butterfly effect so that it ripples out through your own family and friends and your immediate environment. One of the things I think will really help is I believe that there needs to be a new way forward between Eastern and Western medicine. I believe if the philosophies were blended and could meet, we could create a really great paradigm for the future of our health. So where does this sit with natural lifestyles? This creates our community. We've created our connection, and now we need to create our community. That could be your inner community, it can be your outer community. But what it does is it creates health. So for everybody in this world these days, there's not too many people that still live in the place where they were born. Look back to your roots. Look back at what helped you, how you were when you were young. Were you well? What were you eating? What was your environment like? Try to not completely recreate it, but at least put some percentage of that back into your everyday life. It's going to be a blend. Let's face it, there's so many people moving around the world, and we've got blended families. We've got from cultures or just from lots of separations and coming together. But we have to find out what can work best for our own health. We need to lift that veil. The one that's been brought down over us from the marketing and wherever else you might have heard things. We need to create less stress in our lives. We need to do research for ourselves. If we have an issue going on, don't just believe what somebody tells you. Have a think about it. Go ask questions, find out more about it so that you have the power to move on in your life. Stay active, eat your seasonal fruits and vegetables. One of the things I would love to do is what if everybody had 2 vegetable plants in their garden, or pots on their veranda, or they planted 2 fruit trees. what would the community be like? You'd be able to exchange everything. We will get back into a community. It doesn't matter where you live, you can do this. We need to laugh, we need to meditate, we need to do all those other things that give us balance in life. And remember, there's no size that fits all. And practitioners mainly are here to do no harm, so ask questions. And if today I move only one of you to move beyond where you are with your health today, that would be something that I would really love. If I do more than one, that would be great too. But we don't want to put ourselves in the hands of other people who have been misled. We don't want to have a life in the hands of someone who hasn't got our best interests at heart. And believe me, you will know. You know here what's right for you. Thank you very much for having me speaking here today, and tomorrow I am in the agenda room at 10:45. If anybody would like to ask more questions, there's a session going on self-responsibility for your health. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm Komal Shah, classical dancer, alternative healer, and a therapist. So I have practiced a lot of other healing techniques, theta healing, clinical hypnotherapy, but here today I'm going to talk about my Indian culture, where I believe that Indian cultural dance, classical dance forms and music has the power to transform belief systems in all levels, physical, mental, spiritual, and definitely has the power to combat all the diseases. So I have very beautifully created a modality called Natya therapy, which is coming from the word Natya Shastra, which is one of our Vedas in our Indian culture. And Natya therapy is all about performance, stage, movements, sound, raga, Indian classical music, which is known as ragas in our culture, and mudras, the hand gestures. So I'm going to introduce a little bit of all to you all and help, try to impart this knowledge that how we can transform not only at a physical level, but definitely lot of mental and emotional issues which we are struggling from our childhood, or say our core beliefs which we've not been able to tap it, we are going to transform them as well. So Natya therapy is an amalgamation of mudra therapies, and mudra therapy is nothing but hand gestures, body gestures, but if I talk about hands, it's a gentle touch of the fingertips, and each of our fingers are signifies 5 elements in our body. One is the fire, the air, the space, earth, and water. It's in our hands how we can balance our elements in our body. So there is a very beautiful technique where we can increase and decrease the elements in our body. For example, if we have a little water retention in our body, we can have different kinds of mudras where we can put the little finger. Little finger is all about water. So how through water, how through little finger, I just put the tip of the little finger at the base of my thumb. Yeah. So, and then press my thumb and we can take a support of our own fingers. And that's how, with this mudra, I can release a lot of water element from my body. I can bring the body in, the elements in balance within. So it is said that if anything which is, so I'm going to share this beautiful workshop tomorrow. I'm going to definitely share the details. You can practice it tomorrow. I'll teach you. So this is how you can increase and decrease elements in your body, and if we can have an inner harmony inside within ourselves, that's how we can attract a complete balance around us. That because the environment is just our own reflection. So mudras is one of a beautiful technique where we can combat lot of diseases. Like I'm talking about every disease. There are different kinds of mudras. There are combination of mudras, and mudras are the most easiest in this difficult and stressful lifestyle. Let's say it very busy lifestyle. It's a beautiful gesture or a alternative healing technique where we don't need to be in a meditative state. We don't need to sit in a particular position. We don't need to be concentrating on it. We can dance, we can sing, we can walk, we can talk, we can see TV. So if I'm actually working for diabetes, for example, and if I'm supposed to balance, I'm working that these are the three combination mudras which I'm working to balance a particular disease. So if it's going to take me 10 minutes each day to practice that mudra, I can easily perform it and practice it doing all the other activities. So there is no point to escape and no point to have an excuse that I didn't have time. So mudras are very strong, and it doesn't need to be having any compulsions. It can be even, it works super with coma patients because we use it with rubber bands. We tie our fingers with tapes and rubber bands. That's how we balance the elements in our body. So mudras are very potent and very beautiful, especially in classical dance forms. Like if dance is a language, mudras are words. We express, we balance our postures, our movements by having the right mudras which are needed in the dance postures. Coming to sound. So when I'm talking about sound, you must have heard about tones, subtones, ragas, classical music, Indian classical music, instruments. Indian classical music, we work on, like, everybody must have heard about ragas. So ragas are compositions of beautiful notes which are already designed by our ancient sciences and researches done by the scholars, that which tones and notes are composed in such a way where these beautiful compositions are done, where the sound coming from each tone travels to your layers of your body, and where the matter is least concentrated, it changes the molecular structure of the body. Especially if you are treating your knees, your spine, your back, or you're going through some kind of health issue or mental issues. Sound is beautiful, it's very potent in process of healing. And sound is, of course, ragas are beautifully comprised. I mean, they are already structured in a way where we hear it, and that's how we evoke and our emotions are surfaced. So like if we are going to a club and if we hear some kind of a divine music, you don't want to hear that music in a club. You want to hear a music which is going to make your energy levels high. You want to dance, you want to be happy. That's how the relation works with the music and the emotions. If I'm going to a divine place or a temple or anywhere, I would not like to hear fast beats. I would like to hear a rhythm which is slow, a specific tone and a specific rhythm which is going to again trigger my those emotions and surface them, and that's how my gestures and my actions will work in that particular situation. So music, sound, movements, coming to movements. Again, like we have different kinds of movements which at a conscious level trains and programs the subconscious mind. Like every time I bend or I lift my body from the ground, I want to lift my back from the ground. I am learning, sometimes usually we like to take a support, when we are lying on our back, and when we have to come up with a particular movement, we would like to take a support from the ground itself. But that is what we are teaching a subconscious mind that I don't know how to live without support system. So if I am programming a belief, and if I want to work on my stability, my security, on how to be to develop a habit, how to be independent in my life, in all areas of my life, I will program a movement in such a way which is training my mind. So Indian classical dance forms have like 76 classic postures which activates your 7 chakras, and it integrates new habits and new belief systems which is needed for your life. And it of course, movements again helps you to balance your yin and yang, your left brain, right brain, because everything what you do is, dancing is never always on one side. It's always the right and it's always the left. So the right and the left, anything happening at the physical level, it's teaching the mind, it is teaching all your bodies, the mental, emotional, etheric, all these 7 bodies, how to be balanced in all areas of your life. So everything at a consciously, you're programming and you're helping your subconscious mind to program and reintegrate new belief systems which are needed for your life. And at the same time, you are teaching how to release and delete all that which is not serving you by different forms of actions, movements, postures. So this is a beautiful part of Natya therapy, which talks about definitely breath work as well, because everything is breath. How we breathe in, when we breathe in, like you have seen a lot of dancers performing on the stage, and how consistently they can dance and still hold on to their breaths. So there is a cycle which is being taught to us, that how to perform and take the breaths and the right intervals and translate into another movement. So that's again a beautiful science where through movements, postures, we know how to take the right breath and how to allow every breath is purifying your mind, and how to balance it. That's the whole idea of it. So this science definitely teaches you how to attain balance of your Shiva Shakti, your feminine, masculine, your left brain, right brain, whatever you call it, because it's all about attaining balance. And Natya therapy is all about attaining balance mentally, emotionally, and physically. Definitely, that's how you are connected spiritually. Thank you so much. I'll be having a workshop tomorrow. I'll just have to check the time. It's 2 to 2:45. It's on dance and healing, where I'm teaching different kinds of movements, postures, and mudras. And I will be giving you all some kind of details. You all will come with your books as well. So thank you so much, and I will call the next speaker.
Hi, my name is Swandima, and I run a female health organization, Thea Care. So I'm very glad I came after Sandy and I'm so sorry. Yeah, Koval. Yeah. So because I'm going to talk about natural lifestyles, especially as it pertains to female health. So when we talk about female health, when we talk about the way medicine relates to female health, we are seeing that there is a real huge increase in the lifestyle and hormonal disorders the world over. These days, 1 in 10 women the world over has something called as PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. 7 million women in India alone have something called endometriosis. And 60 million people, women, menstruating women, in the world suffer from severe PMS. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. When we think about medical interventions for all of these, you hear conflicting reports, If you look at it, especially in India, if somebody is diagnosed with a cyst or, a PCOD or something like that, the first question we ask ourselves is, oh my God, is this going to lead to infertility? You know, if you're an unmarried person, then probably the doctor will say, you know what, let's, do the surgery later or something because you're still unmarried or whatever it is. And so often it happens in India, and I know it's all over the world, that if you've had 1 or 2 children and you're having menstrual disorders, they'll be like, why don't you get a hysterectomy? Which is the surgical removal of the uterus. Now, when we talk about female health, we really have to question ourselves, how much do we really know? How much research has really been invested in the way the female system is working? And when I say research, I don't just mean medical research about what medicines and what medication or surgical treatments. I also mean, has the female body really been taken into consideration when we are designing our systems at all? We say things like menstruation, menopause, these are all taboos. Abortion is a taboo topic. Miscarriage is a taboo topic. Vaginas are a taboo topic. But is it really? It's the female body that is stigmatized. India today has gone into its most important process, the voting. We are the world's largest democracy. And just yesterday, my mother-in-law was on compulsory election duty with no washroom, with no electricity, and with she had this one stinky bathroom toilet that she could access. Now our question is, has the female body really been written into infrastructural inclusion? The answer is no. Now there was a study that came out last year, I think, or a year before last, that said that period pain is almost as bad as a heart attack. It can sometimes feel as painful as that. There are some studies which say that pain, like women are more likely to feel pain for similar, situations than men. What do we mean by that? What is pain? How do we measure pain? There is no unit to measure pain. Pain is simply what we think our body is going through. Pain is simply that sense of discomfort, that sense of dissonance. So how can we say that women feel more pain than men? A lot of scientists and social scientists now say that pain is not a sense of physical hurt, but a sense of mental dissonance. When a woman has menstrual disorders or menstrual cramps, there are 10 considerations that come to her mind. How will I commute to office? Is the temperature going to be, something that's fine for my abdomen or my, lower back? Will I be able to tell my male boss about it? Will they think I'm this weak woman? Oh my God, is this biological predeterminism? Women are not supposed to be part of the workforce, etc., etc., etc. That is pain. That is the unit of pain. A lopsided writing out of the female body from our structures, from our infrastructures. So what do we do? The question is, what do we do? I'm so glad I am following Sandy and Komal and, I'm so sorry, I did not do my research. So, Jyoti will be talking about it soon. I'm so glad that we're talking about natural lifestyles. What do we mean by natural lifestyles? Let's admit it, we've come way too far from whatever is natural. There is going to be very difficult to go back. I run an organization, I want to be very stress-free, but it can't happen. I do have to think about the next customer, the next social media follow, the next speaking opportunity, etc., etc. So how can I realistically think about a natural lifestyle? What if I was not a privileged woman? What if I was a low middle class woman who does not have an option except, negotiating with her husband, with her family, with her in-laws, etc. So what do we do? What do we do? There are simple things. The first thing that we have to understand is, and yes, it works, diet, breathing, gratitude, and movement. These are the 4 things. That's it. Diet, breathing, gratitude, and movement. These are not things that will require you to set aside 1 hour from work. A lot of women cannot do that. They just cannot, The idea basically is that a lot of women, I run a female health organization where we get a lot of questions about PCOD, endometriosis and all of that. And we try to give a very holistic sort of approach. We try to talk about meditation, we try to talk about dietary changes, lifestyle changes, very integrated with what they are doing. If somebody says, you know what, you need to like sleep for 8 hours a day every day, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can do that. I mean, it's not possible sometimes, you know. So, when women have to talk about natural lifestyles, essentially, the first step is that we recognize the structures that are around us. Our families, our spouses, sometimes, our workplaces or the lack of a workplace, the work that we're doing at home, you know, we say maternity leave, menstrual leave, all those things, but we are not on leave. Women are never on leave. We are always doing something or the other, either physically or mentally. So, a lot of people ask me this question, does this work? You know, I generally, a lot of people say that our body has to be, we should reduce the consumption of acidic foods or acid, things that, basically increase the acid content in your body, They're like, but what do I do? Does it work? Does this work? Does yoga work? Does meditation work? Does running work? Does, sound healing all work? The answer is yes, it works. I'll tell you why. When you have something like a PCOD or an endometriosis, of course, maybe it can, but maybe it won't. The cyst will not go away, perhaps. But does it mean that if you have PCOD or endometriosis, you cannot work? You cannot be a mother if you so choose to? If you so choose to? Does it mean that you cannot travel, commute, do whatever? The answer is no. No one says that if you have a chronic illness like PCOD or endometriosis, you cannot do the other things. So maybe yoga, diet, lifestyle, gratitude, they may not take the cyst away, but they will definitely, at least, help you manage your symptoms. They do help you manage your symptoms. Just, when somebody speaks about sound healing or movement-based healing or yoga or running, you realize that you're regrouping. You are really feeling much more attuned to what your body is. For instance, when I resumed running after a while, I did experience some sort of urine leakage. And I was like, what the hell is happening, But in 2 or 3 weeks, it was fine. I mean, it was just nothing. It was just me breaking out of my sedentary shell after a really, really long time. And because something went horribly wrong with my body. And I needed to take immediate steps. These things, when we talk about, will this work? Will that cure me? We really have to interrogate, we really have to ask ourselves, what do we mean by cure? What do women mean that am I going to be cured? Do we only talk about our health? Not necessarily. A lot of women in their early 20s, late 20s, early 30s asked me, but will I be able to bear children eventually? There's no answer for that. There's no answer for that, We have to necessarily think of our bodies as deserving to be healthy, as deserving to be thriving, and not necessarily coercing ourselves into this, as tools of reproduction, as tools of procreation. There are a lot of women who, I know it's not easy, because I know that the imperative of motherhood is ingrained in our very identities. It just is the situation. We can't just say, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be a mother. We can't do that. A lot of people can't. I understand that. But if we just think of our body as a tool rather than a creative, thriving, powerful force that can heal us, that can be of use to us, that can support us, we cannot take the next step. So, I'm just going to leave you with this thought. 4 things, very 4 things. Just basic things. Gratitude, breathing, movement, and diet. Very important. And this will just take you a long way. It really helps. And with that, I will end. I'm here on all days except the 13th, which is Friday. I'm speaking tomorrow at 1 p.m. In the plenary. And I'm also speaking on 16th about digital literacy and the gender gap. And I'm here on all other days except Saturday. I will be very happy to talk more with you and listen to your journeys, see if I can help. Stay healthy and keep smiling. Thank you.
Hello friends. So it's been a very interesting afternoon and I loved the discussion that we've had so far. I'm going to talk about I'm going to give you some tips and tricks actually, that's what I'm going to talk about. So definitely going to take the discussion further. You know, it's very true that Facebook and Insta feeds have had a very strange but positive side effects in the last few years. So being healthy and vibrant is the new glam. Because it's not just about being disease-free anymore. It's about living it up. It's about the quality of life. It's about adding life to yours and not vice versa. It's about looking good without the makeup. It's about looking like $1,000,000 even at 40 or 50. It's about being energetic enough to play the multiple roles that we do with complete ease. And basically it's about rocking our existence and being the best of who we can be. None of the generations before have had so many choices at their disposal as we do. And here we are, more often than not, juggling a variety of information we gather from various sources about what's good, what's not, trying to look our best, working our way up the ladder, traveling, channeling our wanderlust, pushing ourselves in our roles as mothers, wives, friends, bosses, all the while being the social creatures that we are and downing the glass of wine. So what is good health actually? Like all my fellow friends rightly pointed out, it's not just physical well-being, but it's a mix of physical and emotional well-being. But most people do not even consider being low on energy as a signal the body is getting out, or discount the other non-physical signs that we need to. That we need to look at diet, lifestyle and emotional factors rather than just diet on its own. So let's start with putting a number. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you all feel you're on your health journey right now? Anyone? On a scale of 1 to 10?
Which one is the greatest?
10 is the greatest.
10.
Awesome. What about the rest?
6.
Okay. So yeah, I guess most people would say on a scale of 1 to 10, most people would say something between 4 to 7. And that's completely okay because it's a journey and we're transitioning to a healthier lifestyle. And we should, because eventually if we want to live the life that we dream of and to achieve the goals that we want to achieve, our bodies will have to be our partner in it. And if we do not have a fit body and a fit mind, somewhere we will struggle with catching up with all that we need to do. So these tips and tricks that I've seen that instantly help people jump-start into well-being and are effective in their personal health journeys, which is what I would like to share today with you all. The first one, have food on an empty stomach or at least 2 to 3 hours after meals. So this is one of the biggest mistakes we make. This friend of mine, she usually takes her fruits, but she eats them either after her breakfast or after her milk or after meals and hardly ever on an empty stomach. And guess what? That's the wrong way. Foods are the fastest to digest, and if we have it after any other food, it ferments and does opposite of what it should do. So this is like one habit we should change right away. Okay, guess what's that one tip all models to Hollywood stars to the media around us tell us? Now we should drink at least 8 to 10 glasses of water and maybe have some even say 15 glasses of water daily because we need to hydrate our body. But what the body really needs is water-rich foods like raw fruits and vegetables because that's the water the body understands. There is no point gulping down glasses of water as the cells will not take it in that form. Apart from that, if you limit your excess water intake, your kidneys will definitely thank you for it. And especially avoid water 1 hour before and after your meals because then it dilutes all the digestive acids and enzymes and severely affects digestion. Now the one trick that I suggest everyone is to incorporate some raw in their diet. So definitely a bowl of salad before lunch and before dinner. Salads should contain vegetables along with nuts, seeds, sprouts, greens as per your preference. The target is to have at least 30 to 35% of your meals raw. And by the way, it will fill your stomach pretty well and you will not need to binge eat. The other important thing is to use a mix of different local grains for your meals rather than just wheat and its derivatives. There is this book called The Wheat Body which talks about the bulge around our waists primarily being due to wheat. So think about it. add different grains and millets like jowar, ragi, whole pulses, rajgiri, local forms of rice, sarak, etc. There are many, many options if you start looking around. Okay, I'm on the go and I'm carrying a packet of chips and my favorite 5-star, or Snickers, and I'm hungry. Guess what will I eat? Of course, no prizes for guessing. I will end up eating the chips and the Snickers. So be intelligent and do yourselves a favor. Stock healthy items at home, at work, and during travel. Like for me, I carry grapes or bananas or nuts like raisins or cashews or sprouts, or fruits made from healthy sugars like jaggery. One of the biggest myths these days is, and every nutritionist worth the wait is recommending, is to munch on something every 2 hours, or to have mini meals to lose weight. But you know what that does? It doesn't give any digestive rest to our body. And all that our body does is keep digesting the food, leaving little or no time for stress and repair, leaving little or no time for cleaning or repair. So do you expect your Mercedes to run continuously without getting the engine some time to shut down or without any service at all? No, right? So a very basic thing done wrong. And then there's another kind of rest that our body needs, which my friends have spoken really well about, the mental rest. And also the big need to manage our stress. So stress and lack of rest is a real threat today in this world. It has a real effect on our bodies. It changes just about every function in the body upside down. So do not be casual about it. On a daily basis, we need to do things like meditation or deep breathing or pranayama or some deactivation technique that works for us. I'm not trying to give you spiritual yarn, anybody, but it's deep scientific wisdom. Also shut down or limit gadget times, especially during the night. There is this one thing that our body just doesn't recognize, and one thing that we should avoid like the plague. And what is that? It's the white sugar, the sucrose that we use all the time. It is literally nutritionally zero. And the sad part is that it's hidden under multiple names in almost everything that we eat. Biscuits, snacks, baked items, the works. Thankfully, there are many healthier versions of sugar or sweet foods available, like honey, dates, jaggery, there's deshi sugar, there's stevia. Try and incorporate those in your diet. And now I come to that one thing that we do not even consider as part of our health or lifestyle. We're also familiar and used to blocking people we don't like on our Facebook and Insta feeds. It's time now to block the toxins that we are integrating and ingesting on a daily basis. And what is that? So we are bombarded with chemicals all around us. Our air, water, food. We cannot do much about the air, but what we can do, we need to detox our lives from this chemical shitload. And how do you do that? First is obviously the food. So only the food that your great-grandmother would call as food is what should count. So yes, fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, pulses, some grains. Rest is all processed. So I choose no French fries, chips, sodas, colas, refined flours, oils, refined anything. And how do you live that without being social outcasts? Because what is life without a little enjoyment? And I, for one, need my share of eating out and socializing, etc., etc. So when I follow this principle called the 80-20 principle, 80% of the times I eat healthy, wholesome food that my body really needs, and the remaining 20% of the times I cheat well and enough to satiate my social obligations. And that works wonderfully for me, for the most part. The second, but bigger and even wiser way to avoid chemical shitload on the body is to choose our personal care items very carefully. Whatever we eat at least passes through our digestive system. But what we put in our bodies, a percentage of it gets directly absorbed in the skin. And our skin is the largest organ. So imagine all those fancy body washes, face washes, shampoos, conditioners, body butters that you put, the lotions they have like multitudes of chemicals that we cannot even pronounce and that the body doesn't even recognize. And so it's stuck somewhere in our body, somewhere, sometime it wants to just detox it out. And how much of those chemicals are we putting in every day? When do we do that? Go natural, use paraben-free, sulfate-free skincare products, read the ingredient labels carefully, and avoid taking the conventional world-famous brands because they are most likely lurking with chemicals because they have to be priced to suit all pockets. A lot of people tell me that no way are you going to buy from your website on healthynote.com because they feel it's going to be really expensive. But trust me, natural products are not that expensive. There would be a difference, yes, And you would be willing to pay for that difference because if you knew how your regular skincare products would, is actually working on your body and how it's affecting your health. And your skin will return the favor by glowing and radiating in no time. I think I can really go on and on because I'm really passionate about this topic. But I will have to put a stop here for today. Thank you so much for being such a receptive audience. Thank you.
I guess we're all done. If you guys have any questions, you can stop please feel free to ask us.
Definitely about what you do. So you do also do a lot more than just that movement. You work on Kundalini and what else do you work with?
Absolutely. So I have these different postures, movements, which I have been programmed, and I have my own in-house composition of music, which activates that particular chakra. So not only at a physical level, but at emotional and as I said, at a subconscious level, you are anchoring new belief systems where I have my own affirmations also running down. So the movement and the affirmation, along with that, you're reprogramming a belief or a habit into your system. And we say that it takes 21 days to form a habit. So if you do a particular mudra or movement or any kind of a posture, you are reprogramming programming your body to reprogram a new habit, and it's all about recreating a new system inside. Like we have a lot of problems, we have a lot of stress, we have a lot of negative habits, a lot of things which is not working for us. But there are thousands of tools which is in our hand, and its choice is totally up to us whether we want to use it and recreate a new reality for us. So movement, mudras, sound, breath work, affirmations, it's all. Thank you so much. I do the brochure and the card if anybody is interested.